Hey everyone, I'm Anna Morgan, your Career BFF, and I'm so excited for today's episode with one of my new BFFs, Emily Brooks. She and I met at RecFest last year and have continued our conversations and wanted to do some other collaborations together. But today, she gets to share the stage with me. We get to learn about her journey in talent acquisition, which is a very unique spin and something that I feel as TA leaders that I have not experienced so much throughout my career, even as a generalist, starting in call center, office support positions. And Emily does very unique recruiting, and I'm excited to pull back the curtain and welcome her today to tell us a little bit about her career journey and some of the unique opportunities and challenges that she faces in today's market in this wonderful world of work that we have an opportunity to serve these days. So, welcome, Emily.
Hey Anna, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be part of Career BFF.
Yay! Yay! Well, you are an ultimate career BFF, as I say, and we just immediately connected. Obviously, thank you to my cute little dog Lily. But it was really the conversations between wow, you do a little bit of sales, you do a little bit of logistics, and a little bit of heavy equipment recruiting, right? So why don't you do a little intro of Emily Brooks?
Yes, yeah. So, goodness, what do I do? What don't I do? Currently, I'm the talent acquisition manager for Mid Atlantic Truck and Equipment. So we are a heavy equipment dealer. We sell and service vocational vehicles, such as about anything you're going to see out in your communities, and then everything it takes to run a business like that. So I hire for everything from accounting to delivery drivers to execs, as well as our biggest challenge and the majority of what we hire for are diesel technicians. So
Ah, yes,
yeah,
and that was a shared spark that you and I had
yes,
because I one of the reasons I absolutely love being a fractional talent leader is that I get to work with a variety of industries. And in my episode with Jamie Leonard coming up to RecFest, he said something so beautiful about recruiting. And he said, Anna, we truly do save lives. And I was like, I mean, we impact lives. But he said, Anna, that baby might not have been born if a recruiter had not helped find that midwife, or the
yeah.
pilot may not be flying that plane if we hadn't matched that pilot up with that airline. So, that definitely helped shift things for me. And then what you do with Mid Atlantic is such a variety of different positions, but those vocational vehicles to trying to find the diesel technicians that fix those vocational vehicles, which could be a public transportation bus to a street cleaner, right? What
Yep,
are some
yep.
other examples?
Yeah, so we sell and service well, we service everything we sell. So, garbage trucks, street
Okay.
sweepers, sewer jetters, bucket trucks, service cranes, and then we
Wow.
also service anything our competitors have and just about anything else our customers need us to. So it's not uncommon, even though we sell and got our start in solid waste. It's not uncommon to walk into one of the shops and see a dump truck next to a school bus next to a garbage truck. So it's we try to be a one-stop shop for our customers.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And you know, when you think of the world of work, so many people think of the high-rise building and
Right.
the fancy suits, and it's like, these are the industries and spaces that, kind of make the world go around and keep our, cities clean and all the things. And it's not glamorous, but there is a recruiter behind the screen that's making that phone call saying, I'm recruiting for a trash truck, driver, or
Yeah.
a pickup person or
Right.
anything like that. And then the nuances, especially that go with that for diesel techs, which I had a very steep learning curve getting into. I mean, the demand is very high and the
Yes.
supply is very low. And
Yep.
it's kind of like it's underground culture too with diesel techs. They a lot of them know each other, and so
Mhm.
they'll grab each other and go from like one organization to another. So in my sourcing, it's like if you were able to get someone that you really connected with and being able to ask for additional referrals, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
before you know it, if you knocked it out of the park, but you could have a nice pipeline of potential diesel techs. But there are a lot of at least I experienced some challenges that come with that. But I'm curious, how you fine tune like just having success doing diesel mechanics because that is an art in itself.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned, that steep learning curve. Before this, I hired for like dispatchers and sales. So coming into the diesel tech world, like you said, it is very different. It
Hmm.
is very much a boots on the ground handshake business and industry.
Yes.
And like you said, it's all about relationship building and the challenges we see right now. The demand is skyrocket. It's so high, but there has been a very large skill gap,
Mhm.
especially in the past 10-15 years. You need a 4-year degree, you've got to go to
Right.
college, all this, and they were pushed away from trades, which is why we're seeing such
A huge
I,
trade
you know
boom.
exactly.
Well, I
So
don't know. I say that, I take that back. I don't know if we're in a trade boom, but my spidey senses from a similar experience that everyone thought, oh, I need to go get the 4-year degree. And candidly, I feel like the value of the degree is going down because we have access to learn things so easily. And a diesel tech makes great money,
oh my
like,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I talked to a lot of these early career kids coming out with their political science degrees. And then I talked to a diesel tech right out of high school. And there's significant opportunity there for those that explore the trades for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that I'm really passionate about and doing more of is participating almost at the high school level.
Mm.
You want that quick return on your investment and your time, right? You want to get a hire out of your event that you go to, but we really need to be able to invest back in this industry and encourage students and people that are wondering what's out there for me, what do I even want to do, and to
Right.
reconsider. You don't have to go to college. If that's your plan, that's your path, by all means,
Yes. Yeah.
let's support that. But that's not the only thing out there. And these are jobs that do need to be done.
Hmm.
It does take a lot of skill and drive and hard work and dedication. But yeah, it's we've got to get people back interested
Do
and
you feel like with the large amount of layoffs that we've had kind of in that middle manager level at corporate, that we might see some of those folks reskilling to be able to compete for trade jobs?
yeah, I think so, and I've seen it even in my personal life. I know somebody that recently got into automotive mechanics from a different industry because he's like, this
Okay.
isn't working anymore. So,
Yeah.
we see it. There's a lot of programs out there, different trade schools that also do like, kind of like upskilling and things like that.
Hmm.
So we do see it, but um, again, a lot of that's also it's going to age out. We need to
Hmm.
continue to get that
Well,
interest at that early up level.
and the other thing on whether it's a diesel mechanic or any trade kind of labor focus, the other thing I ran
Mhm.
into is where I would speak with um, older tradesmen and women, they were like, I can only do this for a certain amount of time longer because it's hard on my body.
Yeah,
You're crawling in an engine or trying to
yeah,
uh you know reach something. I mean, that can be tough on you. I think it's a great conversation because, again, I think the majority of us grow up, kind of thinking this is the way my parents did work. This is, what I see out there as a possible opportunity. Are you seeing more organizations willing to, invest in a certification or a training so that, they can say like, we're truly invested in you. And once we, help you get the certification, you'll stay with us for a period of time. Is anyone considering,
yeah.
kind of some creative solutions like that?
For sure. Yeah. Investing in your team in any position is important, especially with the technicians. We do a lot of technician focused benefits, but also with training. We've even launched a program where we're partnering to get some of our technicians their CDL, vendor
Yes,
training,
that was
things
one
like that.
question.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. It was really hard for us to find CDL drivers that wanted to also participate in some of the installs for like our compactor department.
Hmm.
Um, Somebody who goes for their CDL, they want to drive, right?
Try.
They don't want
Yeah.
to.
They don't want
So
to
ours was
install.
like 20% of the role, and so we decided, well, look, this is a great opportunity to give some of our team members a chance to kind of upskill and add to their skill set. So we've
And
done
that's
that,
like
and then
cross training too, in a way.
oh
So
yeah.
like if you have uh some people being out, then they're able to help, fill that role, which is smart.
For sure. Yeah. And then, of course, just, technician training. We've put a lot into some of those programs. And we're continuing to do that again, planning for this year as well to make sure we're
Mhm.
doing that. And then also, like I said, technician focused benefits. You've got to give back to your techs and make sure that they have the tools that they need. We do like a
So with
tool
that,
allowance, boot allowance, all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
let's unpack that a little bit more. What does that look like? What do they prioritize? What is important to them?
Yeah.
You said something about boots.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we for our technicians, we do a quarterly tool allowance. So it's $250 every quarter, which my understanding is a pretty high allotment for tools. So we want to make sure they have everything that they need, but also boots. We buy all of our technicians a new pair of boots every year to make sure that they've got comfortable and safe footwear. We also do company paid life
That's
insurance,
nice.
company paid short and long term disability. We don't want any of our techs having to decide if they want to put in for short term disability or not, and put them at
Mhm.
risk. It is a safety sensitive position, and things do happen. So,
Uh-huh.
so there's a lot that and we're constantly trying to think of like what other ways can we, it's like a not just an employer value proposition. It's technician
Sure.
value. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then how many diesel techs are you hoping to hire a year with your company now?
Yeah, I would say probably 50 to 60 diesel techs a year. So it's pretty
Hmm.
pretty high volume.
Very intense.
We're growing and constantly expanding. A lot of what I hire is for growth, which
Hmm.
I love. As a recruiter is
Yay.
really nice. But
Yeah.
it says a lot about the teams that are out there with our customers and
Sure.
we're looking for
Yeah.
those right people. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
definitely a
So we found
challenge.
also, contacting different the trade schools. There are actually a lot of diesel tech groups on Facebook that I became a part of. And
Yeah.
as I transitioned out of that role, I was like, I probably don't still need to be a part of that. But, I'm always like, you never know how you might, you know, need to build community and reach out to people. What are some other like innovative places that you've been able to tap into some great talent for these roles?
Yeah, so and that's part of the challenge too. Like I said, it's a boots on the ground type of environment.
Hmm.
A lot of these technicians, they don't even have resumes because they don't need them. They can walk into
Oh
the shop
gosh,
next
no.
door and just get
Yeah.
a so sourcing on Indeed or LinkedIn, that's not necessarily where they're at.
Where they're hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've done a lot with, like you said, technicians bring good technicians. So
Yes.
a lot
Good
with our
referral
referral
trail.
program, great referral program. We recently hired somebody and he referred someone to apply before he even started. So we're gonna give
That's a
him
good
that,
sign.
right? We're gonna give him that. But between that and then really, and actually at RecFest, you talked a lot about building trust with the hiring managers. I think that goes both ways. It's really important for us to be able to trust our hiring managers and making sure that they're our boots on the ground,
Hmm.
being able to network for us,
Hmm.
point people in the right direction for us. We've also worked with different advertising partners that target
Good.
specific diesel techs because
Hmm.
you can just
We
throw
even
things out there, but
did.
that's not going to necessarily hit the right people. So,
We when I was transitioning out of the bus company that I worked with after I'd placed like gosh, what was it? I started in, it was insane. Between like December and April, I think I filled like 45 to 60 positions. And
Yeah,
anyway, they were still going. And so they were doing a big billboard blitz, which absolutely makes sense. If they're driving, they're going to
for
see
driving. Yeah.
I don't know if it was as cool as like the Bucky's billboard signs that I look when I drive, but um stuff like that. But then I would also think in other roles that I've recruited that are, similar construction, manufacturing, logistics focused. I wasn't afraid to walk on a job site and talk to a superintendent, and
Yep.
ask a couple of questions and, you know, connect some eyeballs, be like, who's unhappy? Come talk to me
Yep.
over in my truck or something like that.
Exactly.
Um, Now, I mean, I hate this. I think, maybe it's my narrow view come from corporate, but a lot of times the trades are associated with folks that have had, some unfortunate situations in their lives. So uh I've worked for employers that are open to hiring folks that have a little bit of a sorted background, and might have to look at individual cases and see that, a DUI or an offense was so many years ago, and that,
Right.
there hasn't been any criminal activity since. I know that's a sensitive topic, but is that something that you find yourself kind of navigating as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Life happens, right? And
Yeah.
it's tough out there right now. Things
Uh,
happen.
hmm.
We are adamant and we try to be very understanding. Some people share things right up front in the interview process, and we want to make sure that everybody understands. Look, if there's something on your back, that it's a case by case basis. We have
Okay.
to take things into consideration. Whether it's a DUI or something a little bit more
I've
intense that's
seen
in the past. I
domestic
mean,
abuse. I've seen
there's
stealing, you
yeah,
know, a
yep.
smorgasbord of things. But
Yeah,
uh
we've hired technicians that got their training in prison. So
mhm,
it's there's a lot of you know like I said, life happens, and you have to be understanding about that and not write people off
mhm.
just because something happened, and
Right.
they've made such a huge effort to change their life, and they've nothing's gone on for 4 years.
Right. Yeah.
People can.
Well, and that's also going back to trust, and also, the talent and HR teams working closely with your direct hiring managers to ensure that, there's alignment from the first conversation to onboarding, right? And that they are also set for success, and they have the tools, whether they're leadership training, EQ skills, an understanding if someone comes to them with a problem or a challenge, like
Right.
I talk about my journey in recovery and encourage employers to consider additional resources, and I speak about my recovery in service of just trying to break the stigma. And also, I am oftentimes that first person where someone has to find the courage and the humility to share their story. And for anyone listening, whether you're a corporate employee or in this kind of trade environment, and I'd be interested in your perspective, Emily. For me, once there's some rapport built and I explain kind of what you can expect through this process, I really appreciate when a candidate says, Anna, this has been great. I really understand where we're going. In the spirit of transparency, you know, so we don't waste each other's time, I just want you to know that this is kind of part of my story. And, from what you've said, I understand this may not be a challenge right now, but I want to share that with you now in service of, just helping us both get through to the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I always appreciate that transparency. And and speaking of recovery, I'm 5 years sober myself.
Woo!
And yeah,
Thank you for
uh,
sharing.
yeah, of course. I mean, recover loudly, right? That saves. I had tons of people come to me and say that
Yeah, same.
me speaking up has inspired them, and that's
Oh,
more than I
that's
can.
another podcast episode.
Yeah, totally, totally. But yeah, when it comes to, people come to us being transparent about their backgrounds or some challenges, you have to be understanding, and if we're writing everybody off at a baseline, that we're never going to get anywhere. And a lot of this is not only having conversations from as a person to a person, but also
Yeah.
understanding the challenges that being a person it comes with. So, like I said, case by case basis. If it
Just
doesn't
being
affect the
human.
ability to do the job, then
Yeah.
we're gonna have a conversation. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the experiences that I had through the process, kind of recruiting similar roles, is that the company had never had a recruiting team or a recruiter or a recruiting process. So, in addition to just trying to like pull out the information and create a job description, um, there was a lot of like managing up in expectations and boundary settings on here are some best practices in this situation because the demand is so high and the supply is so low.
yes,
We want to focus on relationship building and pipelining and curiosity and not like interrogating these
right,
men and women because we're going to scare them off, right? So
for
even just
sure,
like little nuances like that, because whether they however they got the job, in this space is oftentimes through, their buddy or their sister's
right.
brother who worked at the same company. um are you and your team, charged with some of that education and
Oh yeah,
training for those hiring managers?
yes, yeah, yeah. So, like you said, you came into a company that didn't have much of a process, and I'm there was a process here, but the person who hired me to take over his role, he became a branch manager. I
Okay.
was like, so what's the hiring process? He's like, it's a bit of the Wild West. I was like, great, let's rein that in a little bit. So
Charming.
yeah. So over time I've had to do a lot of first off, a lot of our branches are autonomous. So there's a lot of differences between the branches, a lot of different personalities and challenges that each one of them face. So coming in and truly listening to
Mhm.
understand and figuring out those challenges, and then also being able to educate the customer. My hiring managers are my customers, so
Oh
explaining the
yeah.
landscape,
Yeah.
the market, the challenges that we're facing. Transparency has been so important, and getting them to understand. I think at one point they, the the idea was to source 65% of the time online, and it took a little while to say, okay, but they're not there. So where are they? How can we get in front of them?
Right.
What are some more creative ways we can do that? And
Hmm.
sometimes it takes time. It takes, you know sometimes you got to try it their way to show them where we're at. But um
Well,
yeah, I think
also, like,
educating the
I love.
customers, hiring managers, and yeah, everybody involved. So
Yeah. One of the things that you said earlier that I think a lot of organizations sometimes miss is that everyone who works there is part of recruiting, is a part of employer branding. And oftentimes, little things that I would suggest to hiring managers where, just optimizing their LinkedIn profile, maybe this is
mhm,
only for drivers, but
right,
making sure they had their contact card on their phone completely filled out. So if they met someone in the field, they could easily share it and get a hold of someone.
yeah,
Just different ways that they could be potentially funneling in talent or sparking conversations that can convert into opportunities. um
for sure.
One of the other interesting aspect. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, I
Well,
was.
I was just going to say, that's okay. One of the things that I've also done, recently, one, you've talked about pipeline and how important that is. Having the right system to be able to do that effectively is important. So, we recently did
There's
implement a new,
plenty to
yes,
choose from at the.
many, yes, yes. But we implemented a new system, and with that, it kept getting requests to, like, we need just to have positions open all the time so people can apply whenever, even if it's like the evergreen recs. It's not always a good look, right? So one of the things
Mhm.
that I came up with is basically an evergreen rec for a talent community where, whether we're hiring or not, people can put in their information. So the managers were so excited about that, because sometimes they don't know how to get the information or where they can put it, how we can capture it, and what we're going to do with it. So to have just somewhere that they can hey, here's a QR code. They all have it at their branch. They can scan it and put in,
Hmm.
what they're interested in, what branch. And then we do call them when something opens up. That's part of it too. You
Yes.
can't just
Yeah.
put them in a bucket and act like you're going to reach out. You've got to be able to use it. So,
Right. And you
yeah,
have to know, it's like reading the room. You have to know your audience. And while we used to get a lot of pushback on technology for diesel techs and kind of trades folks, they all have a cell phone. So they can
it's
put
just
the
got to
time
be
in,
ease of use. Yeah,
ease of
ease of
use.
use. You
Right.
got to make it convenient and quick for them. It's got to be mobile
Yes.
friendly.
Hmm.
Um, our application really doesn't have a whole lot of information required. And we have a when in doubt, reach out rule. Right now we do require a resume, but that doesn't mean it necessarily has to be up to date. So we do call. Uh, you got to find out. You
Yeah.
got to
So
have
they
the
also want to talk
conversation.
on the phone. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And there oftentimes I would assume the majority of your demographics of diesel drivers are either older millennials to boomers at this moment. Like I have not seen a ton of Gen Alpha talking
yeah.
about the trades, but it's making some noise as a potential something that I have a friend Daniel Lafarge. Remind me, I should introduce you to her because she's doing kind of like
Yeah.
a pilot where it's like dirty jobs for Gen Alpha type of thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'll make that
Please.
intro for you. um but yeah, yeah, you have to make it easy and simple, and always be thinking about, where am I going to be able to find these people, and how is our story like resonating with them. I want to rewind just a little bit because I noticed your early career. You and I also share kind of that similar background of working in hospitality and bartending, and then we both don't drink, which is even
Right.
funnier. It's like,
There's
oh,
a pattern here. No.
so I always say, like, when I have such a soft spot for hospitality folks, because I strongly believe everyone should have to have a restaurant job at some point in their life, because it teaches you so much about sales and multitasking and teamwork and upselling and just being able to think, 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gave me so much confidence, and I just loved it. And it's where I met my husband. And, then we converted into, more business focused roles. But tell me about that transition. How did you get from
Yeah.
being a bartender to a five-star restaurant general manager, then
Right.
into recruiting?
Yeah. I tell you, that was a journey, right? So I honestly, I'll take it even back a little bit further. I got into the restaurant industry. I mean, some of my first jobs, but wanted to go to college, and life had different plans for me. I was a
Mm,
a young single mom, and it just wasn't working. So I just dove into what I loved and what I knew, which was the restaurant industry, and I was able to
mhm.
find such a passion for that through different types of restaurants that I worked in, whether it was fine dining or a dock bar.
Yeah.
And I still love it. I haven't
If
bartended or
I have
waited tables
trouble
in a
with
in a, a
income,
little
I still
while,
get
but
into it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can always count on that.
Right.
But the skills that I learned from that, I had no idea what, how they could transfer or what I could do with that, because that was at the
Yes.
time when everybody's saying it, you know, life changed. I had two kids, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to be home in the evenings. I can't work till 4 a.m. every day. So, that starts shifting, but it's like college was still not in my cards. So what am I going to be able to do? Luckily, there was, it was called Chop Tank Transport. It was a third party logistics broker here locally, and they had an amazing training program, and they hired
Oh,
entry level sales and dispatch.
okay. Yeah.
So somebody told me to apply. I gave it a shot, and I actually got hired for sales, inside sales. And I was like,
Well,
me? Like, what do you mean? Like, I had no idea. So from that, had a lot of success, and I got recruited by their recruiting team. And here I am,
the rest
6
is
years
history.
later. But part of the thing is, especially when I was, getting into recruiting, even that I couldn't have seen myself doing. I had no idea that that was even like a
Hmm.
real job, right? Like people just do that like full time. but now I can't imagine anything else. Um, but those transferable skills that you were talking about, the multitasking,
Yes.
upselling, a conflict resolution, being able to adapt every single
Yeah. How
table
to
wants a
deal with
different
people.
experience, and
Yeah.
you know those skills I've taken with me. And even when I was recruiting and people would apply and be like, oh well, I wait tables, but I didn't put it on my resume, or oh, I'm just a server. And I was like, please don't ever
You're so
say
much
I'm just
more.
a server. You have all of these skills. And I would just list it, and they're like, wow, yeah, I guess I do. I'm like, yes, please, like, believe in
Yes.
yourself, take it, run. Like, you have so
Yeah.
much potential. And that really, that foundation, my restaurant foundation, that is what has made me so successful with
Love it.
recruiting, and in my sales career. So
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
that
I
was
would say me too.
yep, yep, that's a great transfer of skills, which
It
I
is, it
love.
is, and, anybody listening, if you've been in hospitality and you can't figure out what to put on your resume, like, set up
Yep,
a call. I'm sure
please.
Emily would be willing to help too. I can certainly pull that out of you in 30
Yeah,
minutes and get you on your way and own it, I mean,
yeah,
where recruiters oftentimes have been known as, like, order takers, and now they're saying, like, AI is gonna take all our jobs. It's like, no, no, it's not, because the way that we're able to build community and build relationships and the skills that we've built over our time doing this is you know multifaceted, right? And so many of us are multidimensional with so many different skills. I mean, I can recruit, 100 call center people to executives to a canola breeder if I have to do that.
diesel tax, yeah.
Diesel tax, right? Um, and those use all, like, different parts of your brain, but so much of that, for me, and like you're saying, came from learning how to interact with people and how to move in that space and the quick decisions that you have to make, where should I recommend the Kendall Jackson or
Right.
the Sonoma, or he looks like a lobster and steak
Yeah,
person over you know a vegan salad or something like that.
right, yeah,
um so there is so much there, and I can't tell you how many people I've recruited out of restaurants to do inside sales, for, like,
oh
one
my
of my
gosh, yes,
bigger clients that does manufacturing related roles. They need, someone who knows how to talk to the customer, but has the intelligence to be able to learn, technical drawings and specifications, but also has that rapport building, human element. And so many of those people end up going on to being like a sales engineer, right? They
mhm,
become the SME for that particular product that they may rep. And I love that yours kind of took a right hand turn into recruiting. And
yeah,
now you get to share that brilliance with your organization and teams. So
yes.
super, super exciting. And so, how many people do you have on your team right now? What are some of the hot roles that you're working? We can get the word out and see if we can um,
Right.
support you in knocking out some of those positions.
Yes, yeah. So our we're a team of two in
Okay.
talent here. Yep. So it's me and my corporate recruiter Jasmine.
Okay.
And of course we've got our HR team here as well, but we handle all the positions for the company, all 8
Okay.
locations. We are diesel techs always. If you know a great diesel
Always.
tech, please send them my way.
All right. Why don't you drop
We're
your
also
email?
yes, yeah, I will. But we also, we're looking for service writers. We got our service writers.
Okay.
Right now, our accounting team is full, which I
Yay.
love. But like I said, we do have a talent community, so
Awesome.
check us
If
out. If there's something that something I've said that speaks to you about our company, please join our talent community. We do reach out, and you can tell us
awesome.
what types of roles you're open to.
Amazing, amazing. And, for any job seekers in the space, whether they're talent, recruitment, sourcing, people leadership, or other, any points of wisdom or insights that, you want to remind them to keep top of mind as they're going through the job search, which for so many just feels so heavy right now.
Yeah, it does. It is heavy. I mean, that's the reality of it. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's tough out there. I would say, really don't it's hard when you're continuing to get either rejected or not finding that right role, but you've got to keep believing in yourself and lean on your strengths, and continue to put those forward. That was one thing, that imposter syndrome was such a big issue for me. Even in sales, I had a sales manager to put a sticky note on my monitor, and I still have it at home, and it says, believe in yourself the way that I believe in you. When you do that, you will be a force. And I think sometimes in this market, and just in life now,
Yes.
you lose sight of believing in yourself. And I tell you,
Mhm.
everybody has skills that they can bring to the table. Sometimes it's just hard to find the right company that will help you find your seat.
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember, I mean, again, not all recruiters are created equally, but 99.95% of us truly do this and, see the human on the other side of the desk and on the phone and want people to be successful. And that's so important. And, imposter syndrome, confidence, the courage to share our stories is
Right.
something that so many people battle, and I'm not immune to that as well. And I've been lucky enough to have people like you in my community who have said nice things, that you appreciate my authenticity and kind of my vulnerability. But it also, what has helped push me through those moments is, as you said it, like borrowing the belief in others that I can do this, or that I'm
Yeah.
meant to do this. And, I was reflecting this morning in the 45 minutes I had as I was getting ready, and like, wow, we did a lot over these last 3 days in Nashville. And I can't help but like think about all the things I didn't do well on stage, or all the things that I wanted to do in the shared housing place that I hosted, or that I missed these couple things at the zoo event. But it's all about, just taking, for me, like messy, imperfect action, and then trusting that the lessons will teach me what I need to know moving forward. And then just having that community and being able to borrow that belief that I will find a job, I will find that placement, I will, be able to accomplish the rest of my goals for 2025. So, I love that you said that. And I want to see you on stage sharing a little bit more of your story and the important, work that you do. And hopefully you'll join us in Atlanta for Evolve maybe this year.
Wonderful. Yes. Yeah. And I, like you said, just before this, I messaged my recruiter. I was like, "Oh, well, here goes nothing." I was like, I'm a little nervous, and she was like, "Don't even." She was like, "You are amazing." And I'm like, I just needed that. I was like, "Thank you so much." Like,
Yeah.
but
Well, and
sometimes you
then
just
it's like
need somebody to tell you,
also
like, pull that
receiving it.
energy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
receiving it. That is also a huge thing that I've had to work on. And, you know, I'm not going to say, Emily, I want you on my stage just to make you feel good. I want you on my stage so that my community has an opportunity to learn from your story and your brilliance, and the work that you're doing. And that's why I've loved this conversation to talk about diesel techs and the vocational vehicle and
Great.
you know big tough industry positions that you recruit for, because again, I think so many of us think about, those mainstream jobs. And when I think of the world of work and what's changing, I still don't think the robots are going to be doing all of that kind of stuff in the
Definitely
future.
not. And,
Yeah.
and and the people that are doing that do not want to talk to the robots either. I had a I had a phone interview this morning, and that was another conversation that I just really needed. And it was with an experienced diesel tech, and somehow we got on the topic of just
AI.
applying to positions, and then
Oh,
also AI and these like weird calls that he gets from
oh.
random. And I was like, he's like, you were a person. He's like, it was so refreshing to just have this conversation. Like, so I was like, this is just what I need this morning. I was like, thank you so much. Like, it's because it is, you have to have a conversation. There's,
Hmm.
you know, no matter what position you're in, you don't want to talk to a robot. You don't. You want to talk to a person. How can you buy into a culture and a company and get excited about it if you can't even talk to a person? They can't even take the
I
time to
know.
have a conversation. So
Right. I
that
mean,
call did go a little over. I think it was like a 45-minute, but we were just like chatting. You got to build that
but
relationship.
likely if you can't place that person today, that they are going to be kind of a high priority person for you, I would bet, when you
Yes.
have that, or they'll be a great gate opener or referral source, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Always give a
we
good experience no matter who you're talking to or,
Well, and then they
what the
teach you
opening
so
is.
much about what they do too, because I'm like, what exactly does a diesel tech do? But
Oh, yeah.
um, the other question I had, oh, now it went boop doop out the left side of my brain. We were talking about diesel techs. Oh, well, all the tech that's available. And it's like, as a recruiter, I wouldn't apply to a role that I didn't speak to a human for 3 rounds. I don't know, I'm a prima donna in that regard. It's like I'm a old Gen X, and it's like, I again, time is money. I
I'd
don't
say
want to
that's a
spend
prima donna. I think that's just a general understanding. Like we're in the business to work with people and make an impact
people.
with people. And that's
So why are
I'm sorry,
companies putting all
I'm not gonna
this?
even answer that. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
I
even
mean,
gonna answer
but
that call.
why are all these companies investing a ton of money in this, and they're potentially just diluting their employer brand and trust? That's the other thing. I mean, I called Amex the other day because I lost my Amex as I was on my way to
Oh no.
Nashville. And you're like, lost card. And they're like, put in your 16-digit number. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to drive my car. Oh. And
No, no.
finally, I get through to the woman, and I'm literally in tears, because I'm hosting all this stuff. I wanted to make sure I had in case I needed it, a good credit card, and weeping, telling this lady like how much I hate their automated attendant. Same with Amazon. I've tried to call that bot before. And so there's going to be, you can say, I knew Anna when she forecasted or predicted this. There's going to be a tipping point, just like where we hire so many recruiters and let them all go. People are going to not trust this, AI in the way. And then there's going to be this onslaught of hiring humans again.
Yep,
It's
yep.
just my spidey sense, because they're going to realize that human to human, heart to heart, the relationship is
Can't
always going
automate
to see
that.
better engagement, longer loyalty. And sometimes it's okay that the old ways still work in the new age.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in a world like, I mean, AI, it's artificial intelligence, but we want to be authentic. You those two are they're not the same. So
Mm,
being able to have conversations and show people up front that you're gonna invest in them and give them the time. That's how you speak to your well, I mean, unless your company is so
best.
hands off and so tech, maybe that's the way.
They
But
will attract that.
for the roles that I hire for our company culture, for what I just genuinely believe in and what
Yeah,
I'm passionate about, we're going to have the conversation. We're not going to judge you based on a piece of paper. We're going to give you a call. We're going to
right.
talk about it. If this isn't the fit for you now, maybe down the road, but you're not going to get anywhere in a lot of industries without having those conversations and making those connections, and that's what goes a long way. And we do hear it all the time. And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
morning was no exception. So that was
No, I love that.
always
And
nice.
I love seeing that, just like passion and fire in you, that, just as a signal that you're so aligned in the work that you're doing right now. And I think that's beautiful. And I know that probably shines through in your energy and your storytelling, working with your hiring managers and your candidates. They're truly, truly, lucky to have you in their corner, a true career BFF, as I would describe. So well, I could just talk forever
I know.
for the time today, and definitely follow Emily Brooks on LinkedIn. We will include links to your talent community,
Okay.
to your careers page as well. So our audience can see what roles you're recruiting for. And I hope you and your team will join us in Evolve in 26. And, I would say just thank you for sharing your story today. And if there's anything else that you'd like to share to take us out, the floor is yours, my friend.
I would just say thank you so much for inviting me to join this podcast, and again with Breakfast speaking so wonderfully and inspiring me to have the confidence to come up here. We were just talking about that, but being able to pull
Yeah.
that from you, I'm excited. I love what I do in the industry, and I'm excited to see where everything goes. So,
Yeah.
yes, please, if anybody has any questions, there want resume
Yes.
help, like please reach out any way that I can help you guys.
Yes.
Let's make it
We have a
happen.
huge
We're here to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being a career BFF. Thank you for joining the Your Career BFF podcast. And we look forward to more great conversations and hopefully shining a light on you on another stage, not virtual, in the very near future. All right,
Thanks,
everyone. Have a
Anna.
wonderful day. We'll talk soon.